The morning after the night before, welcome back to the channel. South Africa heading into the World Cup final. England heartbroken, but a really strong performance from Steve Borthwick's team. So those of you that watched my video from the Stade de France last night will know that I was interrupted on a number of occasions by some of the local fans. So I thought it was an opportunity this morning to go through the game again, talk about it. I've had a little bit more time to reflect on it as well. And for those wondering, for those that did watch that video, no, I did not join those Frenchmen on a night out, even though it was a very kind offer. So make sure you like the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and also drop a comment down below. You've all had more time now to reflect on that quite amazing semi-final in a lot of ways. So put it in the comment section, let me know what you made of it. Let's get into it. So starting with England, as I did in the video last night, a huge amount of disappointment. And I suppose in itself, that is a reflection of this England performance and where they were. And I've highlighted it in the video yesterday, but I was pretty down, I was pretty negative about this England team. I think for quite good reason, based upon their form and some of the performances they had put in. But I apologise last night because they were outstanding. They surpassed my expectations. And the fact that I think England fans will be waking up today feeling so despondent and so disappointed and feel like such a missed opportunity is a huge credit to those England players and to those England coaches for the game plan that they were able to implement and their performance against a very strong South Africa side. And I think there'll be an awful lot of pride again for England. And people might watch this and think, well, what good is pride? You've lost a World Cup semi-final, you've got to play a third, fourth place playoff, you're not in the big dance, etc, etc. But it is significant for this England team because since the 2019 World Cup final, this is a side who have had very few notable results. They've had very few performances that have got fans excited. There was a huge amount of just a lack of connect between the supporters and between the team, both at the end of the Eddie Jones era and at the start of the Steve Borthwick era. But England fans will be proud of their team again. It will be a team again that they want to get behind, that they want to cheer, and it means that they're excited about the future once more because this gives them some sort of a platform to build upon. It was a huge night, I think, for Steve Borthwick to win some of the trust in those England fans that actually going forward, give him more time with this team, he can get them winning, he can get them putting in performances which these England fans are going to be proud of. But the other side of the other side of that pride is, I think, a level of respect amongst other nations as well. And looking at the comments on the video last night, there was a real sense, I thought, of a lot of fans of other nations who, let's be honest, many people don't like England. They never have much support outside of their home country, but a respect for the performance of that England team after, again, seeing years of a team that were probably hyped up quite a lot and didn't particularly perform. So I think from that point of view, there is a lot for England to feel proud of and to build upon going forward. In terms of the game itself, I covered a lot of it in the video last night, but it was as good an execution of a game plan as you will ever see. I said that outside the Stade de France. England, tactically, were absolutely on point, and for a lot of the game, South Africa came off second best. The one thing from an England point of view, I suppose, with the beauty of hindsight and having had an opportunity to reflect on it, I just wonder whether they might look back on that second half and think only 3 points they were able to get. It was 12-6 at half-time. They had the Farrell drop goal on 52 minutes to make it 15-16, but there was only 3 points that they were able to score in the second half, and even they were a quite sensational long-range drop goal from Owen Farrell. And I remember close to the start of the half, I think it was the start of the half, or it might have been just after that drop goal, but either way, England had a scrum 5 metres from the South African try line after Farrell had put another one of his really nice sliding grubber kicks diagonally through. It was knocked on, it gave England a scrum, and obviously it led to a South African penalty, and we'll get onto the South African scrum and Nche in a minute. And I think they also had a line out at another point, also in South African 22, and you look at the fine margins in these games, you look at the importance of taking your opportunities. I just wonder whether, had England been able to get maybe another score or those sort of small moments in that second half, then it might have been a different story. But as I say, overall, that's probably nitpicking. England were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. On to South Africa then. Springbok fans, what do you make of it? How are you feeling? I'd imagine a lot of relief. I'd imagine a lot of a sense of them maybe getting away with it to a degree, because it's a funny old game, isn't it? In that I don't think it's unfair to say that England were the better team in loads of different areas, but that scrum and Nche should have been man of the match. And I know he came off the bench, and we hardly ever see players that come on as replacements being awarded the player of the match. But without him, South Africa don't win that game. And that scrum will give England fans nightmares, because it was what demolished them in the World Cup final. They actually did a pretty good job for 50 minutes or so of keeping it pretty even, but the replacements came on and it was penalty, penalty, penalty. Every time the ball got dropped and it was a scrum, you just started to fear for England. And they had that moment again where they called a mark in the 22, Villy Leroux. There was a little bit of a discussion amongst the Springbok players, and they called for the scrum. And you just had this sense of inevitability about what was going to happen. And then it was Handre Pollard, the importance of bringing him back into the squad, kicking the goal, long range, breaking hearts once more. What I will say from a Springbok perspective in a really positive sense is the character to win that game. Because as I've just mentioned, there was so much going against them. It didn't feel like they were going to win it until the scrums started turning. But to have the character to come through that game, to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, says an awful lot about that group. We know how tight they are, but that was very, very impressive. And given their performance, it was impressive as well. To not be at your best, to not be anywhere near your best in a World Cup semi-final, but to still end up winning, I think deserves a huge amount of credit. But, and this is a big, big but, they have to be better. The coaches have to be better in terms of their preparation, and what they do in terms of team news will be fascinating. And their game plan has to be better as well, because I know to a large part, the game we saw last night was influenced by the weather, and England played the conditions probably better than South Africa. But there will be elements of the England game plan that New Zealand will try and replicate. In particular, the kicking game and the short-range kicking game, kicking to compete. It's something the All Blacks did against the Springboks in the Rugby Championship to great effect in the first half. That's clearly an area of the game that I think, once again, New Zealand will target, and there will be elements that New Zealand will look at and say, we can get at this Springboks team once more. So they have to be more on their game. I think it's a fascinating final for a whole host of different reasons, but to me it's the trilogy fight. We had the Rugby Championship with New Zealand blitzing South Africa in the first half an hour. The Boks came back into it, but New Zealand win. We had the game at Twickenham. Springboks blew New Zealand away. The trilogy fight, biggest game in the world, biggest match, everything on the line. The first nation looking to win 4 World Cup titles. So much on it. The rivalry, everything is going to be absolutely fascinating. But as I say, selection will be interesting. Does Handre Pollard start? If it's conditions like we saw last night, I think he probably does. If it's a lot drier, it's a faster track, I think you still go with Manie Libbok, which might be controversial, but I still think you give him a go if the conditions are right for the game plan that you think you're going to have to go through. But after 30 minutes, Handre Pollard coming on. Huge call, correct call. But there we go. I think that's mainly my thoughts on it, really. As I say, on this channel, I always try and be fairly impartial and fair and honest in my assessments. But I can't lie, the Englishman in me last night was probably watching that game around the 60-minute mark and thinking, blimey, I'm 20 minutes away from possibly being in Paris for when England play in a World Cup final. I did get a little bit excited. I didn't think the game was done by any stretch, but I thought that there was a good chance that was going to happen. So, yeah, it was pretty gutting. But as I say, congrats to the Springboks. And I think it will be a great final as well. I think that will be a really mouth-watering final. The fact that England and Argentina have to play a third, fourth place playoff, I know the reasons for it. It's money for TV, it's money because you'll pretty much sell out the stadium, but God, no one cares, do they? No one wants that game. But there we go, we are stuck with it. Guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel over this final week of the World Cup. Make sure you like the video as well. I think that just gives it a little boost. It helps the algorithm. And drop a comment down below. You've all also had a time to sleep on that game last night. What did you make of it? I look forward to reading your comments. And I'll see you in the next one.